prevent me from getting hired? And it's an interesting question to answer, because I've got an article here from BBC News where a study took place where someone submitted a number of different CVs. In fact, I'm just going to pull up the article now. So it says a job seeker with an English sounding name was offered 3 times the number of interviews than an applicant with a Muslim name, and this was a test that the BBC undertook. It says Inside Out London sent CVs from 2 candidates, one named Adam, the other named Mohammed, who had identical skills and experience in response to 100 job opportunities. Adam was offered 12 interviews while Mohammed was offered 4. And their experiences are completely identical, and there's nothing else that can distinguish the 2 other than the names. I guess that would be the one defining factor as to why, one was offered a number of different interviews and another wasn't. I mean, I can speak from my own experience because I've got a unique sounding name, and I know when I've submitted CVs, and I'm speaking from the perspective of someone who's looking at my CV and may want to call me for an interview, they can't necessarily work out whether I'm a man or a woman. No, it's true. They can't work out a man or a woman. They can't work out what race I am. My name is so unique. I'm from Ghana. I don't have a typical Ghanaian name. My name is Arabic. So it makes it difficult, I guess, for some people to sort of work out who I am. And I mean, one thing, I don't want to just assume that it's my name that holds me back, because that may not necessarily be the case. It may be down to the experience and the skills, but there have been jobs I have applied for where I know I've been sufficiently qualified for that particular role, and I've just not heard anything back.
As for me, I can speak for myself. My name, I was born Ali. That's my name, obviously, and but as I'm getting older, well, when I went to secondary school, it's not because I changed my name to David. That's my professional name, or everyone knows me now from 12 years old to now. It's not because I changed my name because of that. I just changed my name because my mom didn't like it, and obviously it's her preference. So I was young, so I went along with it. So my original name on my passport is David. And I do find it quite difficult because for example, as in the construction industry, I get quite a lot of labourer coming to site, and sometimes as soon as the name is African or Middle East or North African, or just in general in African, I get a bit of I get my people that work around me make it a bit funny, sound funny, they can't pronounce it or what that name is. So as an African myself, I say, no, what, he's actually got a good name. Or don't watch the name, watch what they can do. And as a labourer, bring them on board and let us see efficient if they're competent to do the job. If not, then we get rid of them, but don't assume straight away that they might not be able to do the job. So I kind of defending to a degree to that element when I'm on board with that, because obviously once we need a new labourer, it comes to me, I assess it and then approve it and say, yes, that's fine, we can go ahead with it. Mm-hmm. So it is a challenge. It is a challenge.
Do you think if someone sees your name on the CV, do you think they'll shut up and say, well, they're not going to, I guess, invite you for an interview?
I've been successful in that sense.
The thing is, I think, I guess even from the article that you've read, it's not to say that you're not going to be successful. So using this Adam and Mohammed, so Mohammed got four responses and Adam got 12. So of course, of the 4, it's just that your chances of being employed will be limited compared to someone with a Western sounding name. Mm-hmm. I think that's more to the point. So of course, we are all employed and we are all working, but it doesn't mean maybe our transition, maybe progression or anything like that might not have been less, or would have been a bit more straightforward if our name was a bit more Western sounding. Yeah. I think for me personally, name to me is identity, and name is very, very important. I've had conversation with numerous people about names and why giving a name reflecting where you're from is very important. Growing up in Ghana, I think I had it was quite funny because everyone around me had an English name as a first name. Ghana normally, because we were colonized by the British, you have the element of having an English name. Some people have their first name English and then their traditional surname. And obviously Christianity is very strong in Ghana as well. So those elements come through why people might give their names, first names, and then a traditional name. I think for me, growing up, I didn't have any first name English sounding, and it was quite interesting at school because I wanted that. But I think maybe when you put a different hat on, identity is not a crisis in Africa, in some of these countries, because they're Africans, they are Ghanaians, they are from whatever tribe. It's never really an issue. I think it's only when you travel and then you understand the dynamics of how the Western world is set up, that's when it becomes a bit more part of the conversation, I guess. So reason why I'm saying this, obviously, because then I came over and then my dad didn't change our names, Kojo and my same name. So it's very obvious when I say my name. A lot of people that know a bit about the Ghanaian tradition will know Kojo straight away. Oh, you're Ghanaian, this, that, where's your bucket and all that. All those conversations starts and stuff like that. So, what I would like to say, though, is that I am proud to have that name. And it's just one quick example where we travel to France a lot because my wife's family is from there. And I remember where I had a conversation with them about names. Because they wanted their children's name to be more French sounding. Yeah. So I asked the question, why is that the case? And they were saying regarding unemployment and why the name, once they hear your name straight away, they might find challenges getting a job. And as I said to them, I fully understand that. But I think we don't have to lose our identity just to fit in, right? And this is why I associate name with identity. I think it's very important. If we just check through generation, people have always fought for things to be a norm. Yeah. So, for instance, if this name is not a norm now, if from our generation, if we start fighting for this, it will become a norm. As with everything, the more you get used to it, okay, that's Kojo. Oh, you meet another Kojo. Oh, yeah, he was okay. Oh, he was. That's how we break down barriers. We cannot just say, okay, let's just fit in and let's go for the easy route out. Personally, that's what I would say. Straight, just going for the easy route out. And just giving an English name because you want. No, we need to fight for what we believe in, and we need to fight for our traditions and our cultures.
But then, with that being said, if, as you pointed out, they said they wanted a particular sounding name because it may prevent them from even, when I say getting hired, it may even prevent them from getting an interview. You know, you submit a CV and your name's set out in a particular way. I may completely, and I'm not saying that your name holds you back. I'm just saying.
No, I understand that. I understand that. Like my kids have a straight Ghanaian name. I understand the challenges that they're going to have. But what I'll always say, if I'm able to do it now, and a lot of the people around me, we all have names, and we're able to break through this barrier. Hopefully, from when they get into those positions, it'll be a bit more easier. If we are all doing that. The thing is, when we break that trend and we then want to just pander to what is acceptable, because it's the social concept of how we fit in within a Western world, right? And it's funny when you mention this whole thing about the names and when it's an African sounding name, people, I can't pronounce this, whatever, no. But if you watch it, if it's a Russian name, they'll make an effort and pronounce that. There's no issue that I can't pronounce it. Have you heard some of these Russian names?
Yeah, it's so hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's as long as African names. Yeah. So it just shows you the agenda, right? It just shows you straight away it's down the whole race idea. Mm-hmm. Hence the reason why I'm not going to allow someone to dictate to me how I need to live or what I need to do in order to be accepted in a society. No, we have to break down barriers. Because we've spoken about connotations about our hair, our features, whatever thing that we want to talk about. And name is part of it. And as I say, if we go back to the whole slavery, they identified that losing that name makes that person lose that whole sense of identity. Yeah. Hence the reason why there's so many displaced black people in all parts of the world that find it difficult having that direct identity to Africa. Because the problem that they have is that, or the problem that they would not have is that if they had their own names that was carried on from when they even went to their slave lands or whatever you want to call it, they'll be able to identify themselves to say, oh, you know, I'm from Benin, oh, I'm from Nigeria, I'm from Ivory Coast, I'm from Sierra Leone, I'm from Morocco, wherever it is, I'm from Ghana. This is the thing. So that sense of identity, you always have people, we move together, oh, I'm part of this tribe. When it's almost like playing in a school ground and you're the odd person out. When you don't have that, everyone needs a bit of that. We're human beings. We need to feel accepted.
You mentioned in Ghana, you can have an English sounding name and still have a Ghanaian name, and that can be considered your middle name. So you still retain your identity in that respect. You still retain your identity because you have, you know, your African name. You may not necessarily use it in certain circumstances, and you may use what, you know, quote unquote, a Western sounding name in order to apply for jobs. Is there anything particularly wrong with that? Could you still retain a sense of identity?
It's 100% wrong with it. Because if you retain a sense of identity, why are you not using the African name? If I ask a direct question, why are you not using the African name? What is a sense of identity? Do we have an identity to then what? We go somewhere and someone asks you, or are you this or...
You shouldn't be ashamed.
You should not be ashamed of your identity. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
If you're ashamed of your identity or if you're changing it, then the question is, why are you changing it? But as I keep on saying, if the civil rights movement, if you didn't have all these Martin Luther King fighting for black people to be accepted as humans, we will not be here now.
I even got a perfect example. One of my mates, he has to change his surname to fit his wife, because his wife family do not condone the surname that he has. And I'm thinking, why are you doing that? Are you pleasing the family, or are you losing your identity? He couldn't answer the questions. He was just saying, well, as long as the family is happy, or he's happy with it, he wants to change it. And I said, okay, that's you. That's your way of what you want to do.
I remember I watched a video a while ago. It was on Blad TV, and Blad was interviewing this guy called Warren Sapp. And he was mentioning his children, and he said he named these children, quote unquote, white sounding names, well, Western sounding names. He named one of them Autumn.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that video? Yeah, and he was justifying why. I can't remember exactly why he did it, but I remember he gave them those particular names in order for them to have easier experiences in breaking through. Say with university, with jobs, and so forth.
What about his surname?
His surname is Sapp, so he's got an English sound.
Yeah, so it fits in. But then it's just so, added to that article that you read, I picked up another article where you had this girl that was called Rawan Mohammed, obviously a British Muslim from Sudanese heritage. Yeah. And what she decided to do was to change her name, because growing up in Manchester, she's always had that challenge of applying for jobs and stuff. And I think she said she changed her name to Rowan. And this is a quote from her where she said, I think it confuses people. Interviewers usually think I'm mixed race or Irish and don't expect to see a young black girl walk through the door. And just added to this, Oxford carried out a research. Yeah. And I'll just read some of the stats that they found out. So compared to a white British applicants, people of Pakistani heritage had to make 70% more applications than someone from a white background. Nigerian and South Asian heritage, 80% more applications. Middle Eastern or North African heritage, 90% more applications. Black people in general is 60% more applications than Western sounding name. But the Middle Eastern and North African heritage is very interesting, because it's not just a conversation down race, it's a conversation down religion as well. So if you see the whole thing about whole suicide bombing and all that type, terrorist attacks and all that type of stuff. So you can see that specific percentage of Middle Eastern and North African heritage is more down a religious angle than a race angle on that one.
Yeah, Chris, you can, I know you can speak on your experiences, because you've got an English sounding name, haven't you?
I'm on the flip side when it comes to ironically, when it comes to a black male having issues with name, because I've got one of the most Western sounding full names there is. However, to be honest, that I don't feel that ever helped me for interviews.
You don't think so?
Yeah.
Seriously, Chris?
when it came to
when you apply for a
no,
job,
but I'm
what's
just
the
talking about as in when I compared. Maybe my CV just wasn't that strong, but when I compared my CV reactions to others, I never had that a mad turn of numbers. And it's not like I had 20 callbacks compared to someone who had 5. Do you see what I mean? I just had.
No, you have to be experienced there.
Yeah, I just only experience was I could tell
think,
was
yeah.
when I came to the interview, they expected it to be a white person.
Yeah.
I literally, I've had a black manager say that to me.
Wait, so
at an interview, he said to me, I'm not gonna lie, I saw your name, and I looked when you came, and I saw you. I just thought, yeah, I did expect to see a white person. He said it.
What?
Probably point.
And I knew he couldn't even say that. He's not even meant to be talking like that. But he
can't help it.
But he just kept it real. He just said, I expected you to be white.
No, so this is the thing, and this is the stuff that you need to look at, because they expect you to be white. That could be part of their decision making, right?
Yeah,
and this is what I'm saying, right? Yeah, so that will get you through the door, and through the door we mean is getting to that interview stage.
Yeah.
Then there's other conversations I had. Oh wow, he is black. Okay, then that conversation becomes a different conversation, right? And I guess what we're kind of saying here is that a lot of the times when you get your foot through the door, through how you do in the interview and your experience, then you have more chance of getting that job. So getting the foot through the door is still a big deal than someone not even getting that chance in the first place.
Yeah, I wouldn't have an issue compared to someone who's got basically a Muslim name or
as long as they can do the job, that's what matters.
Or an African name, I wouldn't have the same type of issues.
No, they need to just do the job.
But that's the issue is I've realised that though, but because of my name, they assume I'm a certain type of character. Once I do get into the workplace, I'm completely different. Because the thing is, my name is it's just not the fact that it's English sounding or Western sounding. It's the fact that they think, okay, cool, we thought you was white, but you're not white, you're black. Cool. And then they think that I'm probably most likely, if anything,
right, you're not
a
black,
Caribbean.
Black. Oh, okay. They'll just think,
think naturally it's so Western, so they'll just think, okay, you're a nice Caribbean boy. That's just, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what they start getting preconceptions of me, and it's always broken down. The more they get to know me, then they realize that no, you're actually a black African British boy. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? Once they see I'm in the workplace, that they know what it is. That I'm Nigerian. And I'm a Londoner. That's all it is.
But my question,
for my name, they think I'm a completely different person. The barriers get broken down all the way as it goes on.
My question is, why should a Western name be acceptable? Why can't every name just be acceptable for the person?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Because I did see one time a quote about how they talk about foreigners in England that can barely talk English or they can speak English, whatever.
Yeah.
But then they go through the challenges, but then they get considered illiterate because these are the things that they face. That obviously through the CV is if you think, okay, you see a name that's not naturally British, they might think, okay, he might have problems with communication and things like that.
Okay.
But then on the flip side is when a white man goes to Africa, and he can't talk none of the languages, he's illiterate. No one ever thinks that.
So I guess obviously it goes into the whole white supremacy and what have gone on, because even when you watch African shows, and I'm taking this off the topic, I'll just bring it back quickly, right? Because you watch now, there is African shows laughing at people that cannot say stuff in English.
Mm-hmm.
There are shows like that. There's shows in Ghana, there's shows in Nigeria, where someone that cannot speak English, they laugh. But growing up in Ghana, that was a big deal. If you could speak English, then you're considered to be educated.
Sorry, the question I mean, obviously there could be a number of different reasons as to why they would give their child a Western-sounding name.
Yeah. But I think with Africa, the key thing is one is either through colonization or two is biblical. Yeah. A lot of people are from Christian heritage. Yeah. You read the Bible, these names are from the Bible, so you do that. So I understand there's a number of reasons. I'm not saying that that's the only reason, but I think I did a bit of research as well, and I just wanted to see how it's like in America. I think the percentage is 60%. America is 50%. So it's as in black people have to try hard with a. I think America, they had some names like Shaquana and all that, Lakeisha, those type of names. So yeah, they I don't know, ethnic sounding name if you want to class it as that. And yeah, I think the stat there is 50% of people that have those type of names, because apparently it's seen as that they could be less professional, or sometimes due to their socio and economic factor. Element too. So that's how it's seen, because you can see it's closely related. But I guess a lot of times when we look at America, we could say, oh, you know what, England is not like that. Just based on this stat, England has to be 10% worse than America, if you're basing on just their statistics.
Yeah, England, I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm looking at this article here on The Guardian, published in January of this year. It says minority ethnic Britons face shocking job discrimination. I'm not going to read the whole article, but I'm just going to. It says a study by experts based at the Centre for Social Investigation and Nuffield College at the University of Oxford found applicants from minority ethnic backgrounds had to send 80% more applications to get a positive response from an employer than a white person of British origin. It's shocking, you know.
It's shocking, but then that's the thing. You know, when we start thinking about this topic, I didn't know that it's so damning. I said, yeah, as in, I knew that this was always an issue, but I didn't know that some of the stats that we're saying here is ridiculous. So a lot of the times when you're looking within, and this is the point that I made the other time where I was talking about our parents coming here and education and all that type of stuff, drumming that into our heads. And almost everyone that I know has a university degree. But then when you're comparing university degree to trajectory in career, it doesn't correlate.
No.
It does not correlate. And also there's a lot of the times when you see these employment figures, always drill it down and look at it within the black and ethnic minority. And because they could come out and say, oh, unemployment is going down. Who is it going down for? You get what I mean? Right? And that's the thing. I find it, so when you're looking at those stats and then you're thinking people that are well educated, however, they're still finding barriers, you can see that will be one of the first barriers that hits you. You're straight out of uni with whatever degree, you put your application through, that's the first barrier to entry before anything else. If you have a...
I mean, drawing on the point of America that you brought up, see, I know this is only one example. Obviously, I look at Barack Obama. You know, he has an African sounding name, and anyone that looked at...
Is there a Muslim sounding name or African sounding name? Because a
both,
Muslim, we have to
both.
discuss with it.
It's both. It's just, to me, he just sounds black and Muslim.
All right.
Okay. To me,
No,
when
but
I heard
Barack,
him,
is Barack not a Muslim name? We can't say
Obama,
black and...
African
sounds Muslim. Obviously, that some bin
Ah.
Laden. Do you get what I'm saying? So to me, when I used to hear Barack Obama, I'm thinking a black Muslim. That's what I used to think.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I just used to think.
No, because what I'm trying to say here, a black man being called David something, is still a Western English name. So we have to... Yeah, because it comes from a religious type of thing. That's all I'm trying to say.
Well,
so
but,
yeah,
but I only bring up Barack Obama because it's I guess post Barack Obama. I mean, he's someone that had a unique sounding name, but sort of to put an ethnic sounding name, and it's important that I feel that he became president whilst retaining that name, because it, you know, draws back to that point that you made, Kodjo, about having a sense of identity, which I feel like he definitely pushed that forward with his name, and obviously speaking about his background, and where he's from,
and his whole family unit, man. It kind of look,
For me personally, there's two sides of this as well, because one is recruitment agencies. They have a lot of, they actually just discriminate quite a lot without even bothering to trying to put your name forward. They are the tools.
But put that into fact, because you've got a friend who works in recruitment, don't you?
Yeah.
So what conversations have you had, if any, with him about this?
What he's saying is that as soon as they send you, first of all, they have this system.
It's an algorithm, isn't it?
Yeah, algorithm. They have a system. They pick up what they want, as in the experience.
Now, it's the key. So,
yeah,
if you're doing a CV, and this is the thing, if you want to go into any specific field, go onto the internet, find out the key buzzwords for that specific profession, and add that into your CV. Because if you're going for a role that says project manager, planning, budgets, all these type of things, if you put that in your CV, then when they run the algorithm through your CV, it picks up all these buzzwords. Like, okay, this is a person. So you get that long list before then review that long list to make it into a short list or whatever.
And then that's one step. The next step, they'll check your location.
Yes. That's actually quite key. Location, yeah.
When you're from South
London.
Straight away.
That's what I
location, yeah. Nah,
so you don't put your location.
I remember I used to
London.
That used to worry
I think,
me. I used to put my postcode.
Yeah.
No, but this is
back in the day. Yeah, back in the day, I used
16.
Yeah.
When I first got into the game of CVs, and then I remember that I started hearing the rules were changing anyway. You're not meant to put your
some
private
people put
postcode.
Their date of birth.
I knew, even though my name sounded westernized, I knew my postcode alone was hurting me.
Will give you away.
That was literally, it was that. Because those are the quote-unquote postcode wars as well.
Yeah.
So in the news and the media, that would have affected things as well.
Yeah.
All they used to have to hear is areas like Camberwell, Peckham, Brixton, Woolworth. It's that. Even if they might just didn't even want to see a South London postcode.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I just put London.
So carry on. So they look at the algorithm, then they look at the area.
Do not put your date of birth. Don't put any of that. Do not put your picture. Some people do that. You straight away, and then the next one, the last but not least, is the name. And as soon as your name hits, then the recruiter agency will look at it.
Is the name?
Yeah, the name.
Is this what your friend said to you?
Yeah, they said the name. So
seriously?
They look at the name. Yeah, they put it aside. So my Mrs. Brother works in a recruit. So there was 2 applicants. So one of they're both female. One of them outside London, and then the other one was in London. So the one outside London has more experience than the one in London, and one was black, one was white. So what they did, the one in London, they gave her more. They put her salary very high. And in one outside London, they put her salary very low. And then the brother, the in-law, he was asking, so why is that? And luckily, the girl in London didn't accept her to the job. And then the one outside London wanted the job. She was very good. And then what happened was he fight for the case and said, no, what, she need to have more, her wage need to go up. It's unfair. So he fought for that, and then he made her wage even more higher. And he says, this is what happens all the time, constantly.
But what was that based on? Was that based on the name? Was that based on the location? What?
Based on the name, and because that they both came for interview, they saw them, and then on top of that as well.
Because I'm aware there's London waiting in it regarding salary. So if you live in London and someone coming outside London, the person that live in London will get paid more because of their. It's seen. This is general. This is not even a discrimination thing. Yeah. So that's why I asked that question, because that case it could,
because the girl outside London, she's a black.
Didn't you say she got paid more though? The girl outside London.
No. She said the girl in London. But then the girl being in London being paid more. That's what I'm saying. She should be getting paid more.
At the same time, the one outside London should still get paid because she has to come all the way. She has to relocate now.
They don't see it like that.
No. The job was in London, so she wanted to relocate in London. So they need to consider that as well.
Oh, you're just saying, so both the jobs were in London.
Yeah.
It's just that the girl from outside London was going to get paid less than the girl who already lived in London.
Yeah.
Right. And what did he...
Yeah, it's because she's a country girl.
I don't get, but I guess what Ali's saying is because of the name, right?
Yeah. Because I've seen them in the interview.
Yeah, because she's a black girl,
Yeah. But she's got more skills than her.
Yeah, they would do that.
And what prompted your friend to step in to do that?
No, he's a senior recruitment agent. So he said that.
So he only said that because he's in a senior position?
Well, yeah, he says that this is wrong. He needs to make sure that he steps forward and sort it out.
I'm telling you though, even in my mind, there have been times where I've just thought to myself, I would love to do an experiment with my name. Use my CV and just use my real name.
And then use it.
I would love to do it. Because I really would like to see what the response would be. Because I feel like I do have a good CV. I do have good experience. And I felt like at a time, there was a time when I was applying for jobs and I just wasn't getting any responses. No one was necessarily getting back to me. that could have been down to the structure of my CV or whatever the case may be. Yeah. But it's something that has crossed my mind. Try to experiment, send it out to different places.
Also,
that'll be interesting though. Maybe we should do that. maybe we should do that. We should literally just have identical CVs, change names on one, and see. And we'll be able to pick up, right? Because they'll call you and say, "Is this David?" And you're not. Okay, they picked up that CV. Yeah. So yeah. What I would say that matters though, and why your name could be an advantage, if we want to see as an advantage, is because companies need to fill a quota.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, for instance, they could say that in a C-level management or band C or whatever level management, we need to make sure that we have a black representative.
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's always just the case.
Or we need to have sure we have a black-eyed representative or African background or whatever. No, they have a quota that they need to fill.
Yes.
So there will be certain positions where they will literally be targeting someone from a certain background because they want to fill that quota. Yeah. So I guess, would you want to say that that's an advantage, or this is something that should be a norm type of thing? So I guess it depends how you want to see it, how you want to flip it. But there is companies that they do that because when you walk through the door, they want you to see that we are a multicultural company. We represent everyone's values and whatever. Not so seeing that person in a management team that is black and you could relate to makes you feel like this is a place that you could work and you could progress.
Would you say that's a bigger company though? Does it really applies to a bigger company?
I think all companies to a certain extent. I think in the UK, representation is key to company. And if we're talking about, especially because this is a Western world, if you're talking about Africa, it might be different. It will be flipped around because we'll know more people in those positions. Whereas here, people that grew up here will know more people in a affluent position or in a position that could help them progress. So when we're using that example, I understand, but as I said, I believe more in the quota that companies are trying to fill because of representation, especially in London, and trying to come across as if they represent everyone's values. They see that more as something that they need to actively try to recruit, or they need to get people that represent London. So some companies will feel like that.
You're right. I understand what you're saying. So, but the flip side, we can have our own business. And recruit whoever we want to represent, and make it as a general for the society. That's what. Well, personally, that's what I would love to do in the future. So, in the flip side, that's another thing that we can consider and build up our own tree line and get there for the generation to come. That's another side of it, because I find it's quite a lot of difficult when you're in secondary school, you want to do like your work placement as well. That's another issue as well. They find it as well. To get a job or a placement for 6 weeks or 2 weeks, that also disadvantage as well in that kind of area of it. But yeah.
So just wrapping this up then, and goes back to the question: can your name keep you from getting hired? Maybe we should start from here, Chris.
So I feel like it can, because there's still a lot of ignorant people out there, and a lot of them unfortunately are in powerful positions. So that shows that. History shows that that's the truth, that it does keep people, because obviously the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor. So at the end of the day, it does. That's the math for me.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it can definitely prevent you from getting. I was hired, it's even just getting past the first stage, being called up for an interview. But then I'm conflicted as well, because at the same time, I agree with you, Coach. I think it's important to retain your sense of identity. So for me, my children, I want them to sort of, retain a certain level of identity and understand where they're from, their background, and where their family comes from. And a lot of that does start with their name. The name has purpose, it has meaning. And I think it's important that they understand the true strength that name carries. And it's important for them to be proud of that name. However, at the same time, you still want to give them a good start in life and afford them every single opportunity that they can have, and not necessarily have any barriers, that hold them back. Unfortunately, I do think your name does hold you back from getting past the first stage. I feel like, as Chris pointed out, there are certain people that are in powerful positions that are completely ignorant and hold sort of misguided views about people from particular backgrounds. However, I think a lot of that can change, as time goes on. I feel like a lot of the first generation Africans have been educated in this country, have been hired by big corporate companies, and I think some of them are rising through the ranks. And their names have never necessarily prevented them from getting hired in those companies, because at the same time those companies looked at merit, and that was an important thing. And a lot of them did a lot of that sort of like blind CV sort of assessment. So they didn't necessarily look at the name or even the university you went to. They just looked at your experience and your skills, and they took you on that basis. So I think that's important. I think as those people rise through the ranks, they'll be able to change the face.
Well, as for me, name identity is a good thing, and I think every country, and especially African, I believe they should keep it and should continue keeping it. Is your background, is your culture, is who you are, is who you are, and losing that point is gonna put you in another area that not necessarily you want to accept, and not necessarily you want to go through that, especially your upbringing and your children. As for me, having my own family is very important to have my identity and for that to continue. As what Chris and Cam has pick up on the point of Chris says mentioned about the ignorance of society, and it's still there, and unfortunately it's always going to be there unless we as a generation now pick up this point, understand it, value it, and trying to break it. Obviously it's not going to be broken in just in a night. It's going to have to take years and century, and obviously educating the one behind us to understand your identity, your name is very important. As you can imagine, in American history, the slavery, they literally stripped out the whole name, the whole identity. It's like being naked and say you have to have our own Western name. If not, you're either going to be punished or killed. Obviously, some people don't want to be killed or be punished, so they have to accept it. And no, I believe no, that shouldn't be the case. And as well, Cam mentioned about his law firm at the moment. Some in these areas are picking up the names regardless of the background, regardless of the university. They are being blinded and then just picking up because of the experience. And for me, it's important for us to move on. And name identity, personally for me, in my general experience and my general speaking, is name identity shouldn't be the case. I think when a recruitment agency or director or a company want to hire someone, they should just hire someone based on the experience. So, okay, is this person competent? Is this person can fit within us? Can he relate to us? Can he actually sit down and do the job? If all of those questions have ticked the box, why not? Why can't you just choose them, or even come to an interview and assess them and say, okay, good, this person can relate to us, let's just bring this person on board. Name shouldn't be the case. Name shouldn't be the first point of the contact to say, no, because they're African, or because they're from Asia, or because they're from Middle East, no, we shouldn't pick them. No, for me personally, it shouldn't be the case. It's all about competent, and then we can do the job.
Yeah, I've always thought name is very important. What I would say, I think people from African background, or even in Africa, I still believe we're really brainwashed. And this is, as I said, controversial in a sense, because in regards to naming, getting a name from a Western background, I see in two ways. If it's from the colonization, it's because we're still brainwashed. if it's from the Christianity, we're still brainwashed in a sense that you have Russians that are Christians. You have Dutch people that are Christians. They don't have to give their names David. That does not mean you are a Christian by giving those names. So when we really go back to these things of why we are, one, trying to fit in is just a cop-out. We're not doing anything. Any people that have fought for their rights, there has to be something has to be given for that. You don't just turn up and people say, oh yeah, we all agree it's not fair, we're going to change it. No. Yeah. Through revolutions, people have to die for us to be in positions that we're in. I just feel like our generation, we're just copying out in so many different things. And I cannot accept that. I think name is identity. I feel like your name should represent where you're from. I guess in that conversation as well, if black people feel that they're from England, then I guess that name should represent that. So I guess that's fair in that conversation. I think some of the points that you guys have mentioned, Chris mentioning ignorance, and also regarding your colleagues and being in law firms where that blind type of reviewing of CVs, that is excellent. I think I'm pretty sure I read somewhere where CVs will be moving down the line of not necessarily having a name on there, but more to do with your skill set, experience. And that's when people actually, when you're spoken about getting your foot through the door, that's when it will be very interesting how many black people will be able to actually get their foot in the door. We still know that there are other barriers to contend with, but that's even good enough to get your foot through the door. Because some of the statistics are damning. Talking about 60%, you have to try 60% more. And in America, 50% more. That's twice as hard. So when people are using these type of things, when elders are saying, oh, as a black person, you have to try twice as hard. I guess in this specific example, this statistic basically backs that up. But I feel that for me, and I've said it to anyone around me that could hear this, I've always said this. Me personally, I've had to go through challenges. Yeah, myself and my wife, we've had to go through challenges for our children's name. And I feel like I had to give them that. Regardless of that barrier of these statistics, they need to break it down. I'm hoping in their generation it's 30%, not 60%. Yeah, and then the generation after that is 10%. Then hopefully we are in a society where that name is not going to be a barrier to entry. But the problem we have is that if we do not change that, if we do not start giving our kids names that reflect what we are and what we believe in, yeah, if we don't do that, then this is never going to change. Because as you've mentioned, there's people that have done this, and seeing that person to say that you could actually hold your name and still hold this high position is very important for representation. It's really, really important for authenticity. It's really, really important for culture, tradition. It's very important. Now, we all know we're in a Western world, and we all know that we have to fit into a certain extent. Name is definitely not one of the things that I feel we need to compromise on.
And that's the Perspective podcast.
Perspectives, different views, one voice.